Hey everyone, Tommy Marquez here, back inside the Fit Aid Lounge on the Morning Chalk Up Show set. I'm joined now by the president of Loud and Live Sports, Matt O'Keefe. Matt, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Tom.
So Loud and Live, you've got a huge undertaking here at the Games, but there's been some really exciting developments for what you guys are taking on for the season next year. Do you care to elaborate on some of those new developments?
Yeah, thank you. We just finished our acquisition of the Granite Games, which we're really excited about for June of next year to add to the other 4 events. Wadapalooza, West Coast Classic, Madrid Championship, and the Mayan CrossFit Classic. So we're really excited about that and ready to dig in and see what we can do with that. And then we are working with a few of the other Sanctionals that we aren't necessarily involved with. Filthy 150, the Atlas Games, and Sulfit in Argentina. We've collected those events with our Wadapalooza online challenge, and we've created the international online qualifier. So we just want to test it out and see how it flows. We really, as a group, I would say collectively, the sanction owners in general feel a high sense of responsibility to try to figure this whole qualifying system out. And I think this is the first step for that, is digging in a little, see if this works, see how it flows, and then hopefully in the years to come, either creating another one so there's 2 checkpoints on the calendar. Granite Games has one. We might be able to use that. I don't know. We'll have to talk about it. But the idea would be to consolidate that a little so that it's easier on the athletes.
And so I think you touched on a key point here, is that the Sanctionals are very communicative with one another in terms of trying to create the best practices for this new system. And I think that's fantastic. But you guys also have a pretty big footprint here. We're literally sitting across from the desk, the Loud and Live desk over there. What's your guys' role in terms of broadcast and media here at the 2019 Games? Yeah,
it's been really fun for us. It's a new venture for us, really, broadcasting. I mean, we did 19.5, which was our first go around, and it went really well. And we decided to broadcast in Spanish. With our Mexico and Spanish events, it made a ton of sense for us. And so we have a full broadcast in Spanish this year, and it's been super fun and successful. People are loving it. We could be better, obviously, and we're working on that. But it's been a ton of fun. So we're doing that, and certainly we're building a ton of content in general for athletes we work with. So we have some people that are, on the stages taking photos and making sure those guys have some good stuff to put out for the weekend.
Yeah. And honestly, one of the biggest questions that comes up, and probably the one that's on a lot of people's minds, is Loud and Live Sports also is involved in athlete management, managing some of the top names in the sport, along with running events. And a lot of people maybe feel like there could be a conflict of interest there in terms of having your hands in both of those pots. What would be your response to that? What's your kind of approach to that when you hear the people talk about a potential conflict?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I get it a lot. I think a little bit of it came up this year with Wadapalooza, and I think, I hope people's experience as athletes, at least in the sport, have, our actions speak loud enough. It's not a non-traditional model is really what the answer is. I think a lot of other sports would tell that same story. I think we have integrity, and we're not conflicted, so that conflict doesn't exist for us. There's a lot of separation and systems in place. Quite frankly, I have nothing to do with that part of it, nor would I ever want that. But you look at some of the bigger agencies in the world in sport, the IMGs, with PGA Tour events, and the UFC, works with fighters and runs the sport. I know a little different format. I've brought the golf thing up before. Tiger Woods owns 2 events, the way you set up a golf course, because I'm a golfer, is monumental to a golf outcome. So it's not crazy outside of the box, but I do understand it, and quite frankly, I would never, the biggest thing I would say is, I've worked with these kids for a long time. I would never compromise their accomplishments and put an asterisk on that. If anything, we're more careful than we've ever been with that stuff. And I'll keep answering it, and I think what you'll see this year is how we act. I'm all into actions. It's intentions are great, but how you act is paramount to anything else. I think you'll see that it works really well, and we care deeply about the sport. So we're excited to be a big part of it.
And so that was going to be kind of my follow-up, is like, what are some of the things that maybe you guys might be looking to kind of maybe help, like in terms of actions, to kind of maybe clear that up or basically showcase what your guys' intentions are and how
Yeah, I think, what we've put in place is we've collected a lot of the big minds in the space and put them in a board of advisors, and we call it a programming collective. And they're not people I necessarily work with or have worked with or work with any of the athletes that we work with, right? So, and they're very protective of that, and there are even some people that have probably questioned that. So we're putting them all in a room. I mean, you would know all the names, and it's a big group of people, and they're handling it. Danny Lopez is our director of competition, and he's working with that group closely. And we'll just be very forthcoming. People will understand it. Those guys will all speak to it too, and I think they're great people to ask about it because they'll understand how it works and how those systems that are in place to make sure that there's no improprieties, really.
Yeah. And so now maybe looking to the 2020 season a little bit and everything, because some stuff is already in motion, especially with the IOQ, the International Online Qualifier. What are some things that you want to put on people's, radar in terms of how they can get involved and what they can look forward to for you guys in 2020?
Yeah, I mean, listen, our events, are mass participation, so I think that's a really important message to get out. Is this is, we're sanctioned, so there'll be a prize involved for the elites, right? But I think the focus is really the community. When you look at Wodapalooza, it's always been that. Obviously it's tougher to get access to that event because you have to qualify. But California, we're just going to have a sign-up model for team participation division. Mexico, same. Madrid, same. We really want those local communities to participate, so we're really going to dig in locally in those markets. But yeah, I mean, it's, compete, really, come out, and then, come out and support it. We have 900 volunteers in Wodapalooza, same in Granite Games. There's a lot of opportunity to work with us, and we're welcoming everybody and anybody. But yeah, it should be a lot of fun. But that's the biggest message is, our events are more than just that elite component. All of them.
Yeah. And so the IOQ registration is going on right now. Where can anyone kind of sign up and get involved if they want to?
Yeah, so you can go to Wodapalooza.com. That's the best place to do it. And just so people are clear on that, you can choose where you send your scores to any of those events, and they'll be the same workouts, and that'll start the first week in August and run 3 weeks for the individuals, and then the team component will come on the back side of the Open. So the beginning of December we'll do our team qualifier, which is always a big, fun part of the season for us, especially. And just so we're clear too, like our other events, we're going to use the Open for some of them, for the elite side of things. So when you're talking about California, Mexico, and Spain, there will be an opportunity for people to qualify into the elite competition through the Open. So we're gonna be a part of that, support that as well. We believe in the Open.
Yeah. Awesome. And the Open is a great competition to use, and it's good to hear that you guys are going to be using it as well. It's kind of streamlining some of the qualification process. Matt, I know you're a busy man. We'll cut you loose, but thanks so much for joining me today. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thank you. Great to be with you, man. Thanks for having me.